It is so unusual for me to have a look at my photograph taken so many years ago in Poland when I was 1 year old, and luckily I found it in London because unfortunately I have not got any photographs of myself when I was a child or teenager, because when we had to leave our home, everything was left behind.
Come on, you two, catch me if you can. I'll be the first onto the ice. You're so slow.
What are you talking about? You started before us.
Helen, quick, help me stay up. It's a year since I was last on the ice.
I know your game, dear brother. If we try and help, then you'll drag us all down.
If you loved your dear brother, you would both help him.
Poor little boy. Of course we'll help you.
I bet he's hiding a snowball behind his back. We all know your game, Heinrich.
Well, look who it is, our precious little Jewess, our schoolmate, our friend, skating on thin ice. I'd be very careful if I was you. Such a dangerous place for little Jewess to be.
I'm Polish, just the same as you. There's enough room on the ice for everyone.
Not for you and your kind, there isn't. You should be careful. One little crack in the ice and you'll fall straight through. Frozen, solid, in a minute.
Leave me alone. Why do you always follow me?
You might think you can hide from us in class, but you can't. You don't belong there.
Can you feel us watching you all the time, in school and out of school?
I don't know why you pick on me.
Don't get all hot and bothered, otherwise we'll have to call you down, little Jewess.
I'm Polish, just the same as you.
Shut up, Jew. Come on, let's clean our mouth out. Get some ice.
Get off my sister!
Leave her alone!
Come near and we'll scratch her face.
Her Hitler has told everyone to beware of the Jews. One day, you'll all be destroyed. You're vermin. That's what a father says. Dirty Jews, 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 dirty Jews.
Luckily, I've got all these photographs through my sister who lives in Israel, who went to Palestine in 1937.
You're very quiet, Helen. It's not like you.
I've had a long day, Papa.
No longer than usual. What did you study at school today, Heinrich?
It's up everyone, or we'll get cold.
No science, Polish.
And what did you learn?
Can't remember.
Miriam, what have you done to her now?
Nothing, Mother.
Somebody hit you.
She tripped up on the ice.
It was me. I tripped right on the ice.
Well, I don't believe you, Heinrich. Miriam, what are you covering up?
Please, there's nothing to discuss.
Tell your father the truth.
Right. Nobody eats until you tell us exactly what happened. Come on, we're all hungry and we want to eat. Take your time, Miriam. Tell us what happened.
There were two girls on the ice. They said hurtful things to Miriam.
And why have you got bruises on your wrists?
They attacked her. They held her down.
Does that hurt? I'll get some ice.
I got more than the ice.
Are you in trouble, Miriam? Why did they pick on you?
Perhaps they're jealous of her.
No, Mother, it's not that.
I think I know what it is. Take your time. We want to help.
They stuffed ice in my face. They scratched and kicked me because I'm a Jew, because I'm a Jewish girl.
It's happened before.
I'll go to your school tomorrow and I'll speak to your teachers.
What are the names of these girls?
Tanya and Isa.
How long has it been going on for?
Months.
Why didn't you tell us, Miriam?
I felt ashamed.
Why? Please, you must tell us these things. Did they do anything else to you?
Did some of the boys hurt you as well?
No, it's the Polish girls in the class. All the Jews are being picked on.
I know. I should have talked to you about this before. Come along, everyone. Let's eat up. It tastes delicious for you.
How long will it take to get to Palestine?
Not a long time.
If I left tomorrow, when will I get there?
You can't run away, Miriam.
We must stay together. I'm old enough to do as I please.
You'll feel better in the morning. Is that happening?
You're always talking about building a new Israel. You're encouraging other people to go. Why can't I go?
You will not go. We must not run away from this. This is our home.
I want to go.
You'll not defy your father.
We are a family. A strong family. And we must stick together. I'm sorry, Mary, but it's out of the question. Perhaps when you're older we'll discuss it again.
Then I will not eat. I will not eat a single thing until you give me your permission and blessing. Please, it's what I want.
Miriam.
What will you do when you get there?
I shall get by. I shall pray for the day that you will all join me.
By late 1937, Helen's parents gave Miriam permission to leave Poland and travel to Palestine. Only 2 photographs of Helen's father, Motush, survived the war. This one was taken of Motush and Miriam. They are saying their goodbyes in a park in Pabianice.
Łódź, August 26, 1939. Today I read Mayor Kopinski's appeal for volunteers to dig anti-aircraft ditches. Having got my parents' permission, I signed up immediately at the police station, as did my schoolmates. Tomorrow I go to work. Old Jews, young women, all citizens, except the German ones are rushing to volunteer. The bloody Hun will not pass. Łódź, August 28, 1939. My bones ache like everyone else's from yesterday's work. 50,000 people out digging. Łódź, September 1st, 1939. The German army have crossed the Polish border. Air raids on Polish towns. Things are boiling around the world. We wait for England and France to join the war. Maybe even the United States. Łódź, September 6, 1939. Oh God, what's going on here? Panic. Departures en masse. Defeatism. The German army are going to occupy Łódź at any hour now. The city waits in terror. I am on duty till 1 a.m. Our neighbour, Mr. Grodzinski, with his wife crying, is urging us to leave. My beloved mother shows unusual composure. There is crying and lamenting in the streets. The decision is made to stay put. Whatever will be, will be. Friday, September 8th. Łódź is occupied. Mr. Grabinski returned from town to tell everyone how the local Germans greeted their countrymen with a happy Heil Hitler. Jews are being seized, beaten and robbed. At the Reichstag, Hitler has said he is ready to resolve the Jewish question. Synagogues are to be closed. No communal prayer for mercy. The synagogue is burned. We have returned to the Middle Ages.
Where have you been? The curfew been out hours ago. I was so worried about you. And where's the yellow star?
Sorry, my father, I took mine off so we could go dancing. We just wanted to enjoy ourselves. It was such fun. You should have seen us.
My darling, it's not a game. This is dangerous times for us. Now up to bed. It's late. And don't wake up Grandfather. His chest is bad again.
Can I just sneak in and give him a kiss goodnight, please?
Go on then.
German Directive, Łódź, 10th December 1939. I assume there are about 320,000 Jews living in the city of Łódź today. It is impossible to evacuate them all at once. In order to concentrate all Jews residing in the city of Łódź, one separate quarter of residential area will be established in the part of the city northward from Deutschland Square. All Jews will be moved into this quarter. As soon as preparatory steps are accomplished, I will fix the date when the ghetto will suddenly be established. The streets will be closed off by barbed wire and other blocking devices. In the ghetto itself, a Jewish self-administration will be established, headed by the eldest of the Jews and his community council. The ghetto can pay for food only by producing goods such as textiles. In this way, we will succeed in the drawing out of all valuables that the Jews have accumulated and squirreled away. Excellent.
As well as photos of my parents. They were very young when they got married. This is their engagement photograph from 1916. My mother was very beautiful. My father at that time was serving excuse me, in the Russian army. He was in St. Petersburg. He was an officer, and they both look lovely and handsome, and it's really lovely to see them.
Shall I go, Papa?
No. You stay by your mother.
Motush, don't go.
It's probably someone for me.
It's very late, and whoever it is here should not be out during curfew.
Who sent you here?
The rabbi. He said that you were a good man and that you could help us.
What is your name?
Sarah, my children are right on the street corner.
No. Don't tell me. It is enough that they are safe.
When I look at the photo of my father, I vividly remember the period of 1940 to 41 when we were all in the ghetto in Pabianice. My father was involved in helping people together with two other prominent members of the Pabianice Jews, and they were trying to give cards, help people, and make sure that all the people receive ration cards which were absolutely necessary in order to receive food rations. Unfortunately, he was betrayed, and together with his two other colleagues, they were all imprisoned for a few months.
Ration cards for you and your children for Pabianice. Now, nobody else is to know about this. I too have a family to care for. This is to be our secret. Do you understand?
Bless you, Motush. How did you come by the ration card?
When people die in Pabianice, their ration cards are sent to me. Simple. You see, in this way, we are able to keep alive people like yourself who flee to us from Łódz or Warsaw, where the situation is much worse than it is here.
In Łódz, the ghetto will soon be sealed off. Once the piles and ropes dredged have left the quarter, there will be no escape. The conditions of us. I have seen children harnessed to wagons instead of horses. In the streets, I saw the police. They were beating a man with an iron bar. He didn't make any effort to fight back. And he just lay there. They gave us work. It's like slave labour. And a group of us toured the ghetto, collecting human waste in big drums. And we put it on a cart and we pushed it to the edge of the ghetto and we put it in a pit. My friend Johan, he caught typhus doing such work.
The main thing is that you are here now. You must survive this crisis and live. Come on now, I'll show you out.
Bless you, Motush Chmura. Happiness to you and your family.
Let's go. The way is clear.
By some miracle, my father has been released from the prison, and his two other colleagues were sent to Auschwitz. I shall never forget the sight when I saw a crowd of people, friends of ours, carrying him on the shoulder and bringing him home. Our happiness was indescribable. I can't describe that feeling. My father told me then that during his stay in prison, he was writing a diary. But unfortunately, he didn't bring it with him, and how I wish that I had the diary now. I got hold of a card, a postcard, which was sent in 1940 from Pabianice, when the Germans were already there. Pabianice was changed, the name was changed to Burgstadt, and my father tried very hard to somehow or other get some news to my sister in Israel that we are still alive. And I believe at that time Italy was still neutral. So he sent a card to a friend of his in Trieste, in German, written German by my father, in March 1940, asking him, would he be kind enough to send this card to his daughter in Israel, and in which he says that, in German, that he and his wife and his son and daughter Helen are still alive, and we are sending our best wishes to my sister Marilla, and asking him would he be good enough to forward this card.
Children, the Jews of Pabanice have to leave their homes and march to the football ground. The ghetto is being cleared.
But our home, all our things, what should we take with us?
Winter clothes, just one small bag, enough to keep you warm.
But my grandfather is too old to travel.
We have to leave him behind. That is the order.
No, I must go to him.
There is no time. We have to stay with the others outside our home. Hurry, children.
But what about grandfather? Who will care for him?
Have you packed a bag yet, Helen?
Where's my photograph of Miriam? Where is it? Have you seen it?
The one before she left for Palestine?
Yes. It's in the drawer, second down. Hand it to your woolen jumper. Don't forget it.
Now, is everyone ready?
Yes.
We can't leave grandfather. I won't leave him.
We must, sweetheart.
No!
There is no choice.
No!
Don't
No!
They'll look after him. Won't they, monsieur?
It's time. We must go.
What will happen to us, father?
After a while in Pabianice, we're eventually told that we have to assemble in force and will be taken somewhere, all the Jews from Pabianice. It was a Saturday afternoon, 4 o'clock, and I remember we were only told to take a very small bag with us. Well, we were absolutely terrified. My father, my mother, myself and my brother. My old grandfather stayed with us too, but we were told that only people that were able to walk can come. So obviously we had to leave him behind, which was very, very upsetting and traumatic, and as we had no idea what is going to happen to us. And I remember we're in the middle of the road, assembled all the people, and we started walking. All the Polish population were watching us. Nobody said anything, and we started to walk, surrounded with German soldiers and dogs. We all walked in a very dignified manner and very quiet, and we suddenly realized that we are herded into a big football ground called Krusze Ender. He was the industrialist in Pabianice, where he had a lot of factories manufacturing cotton. And there it was a whole mayhem. I mean, people were herded into various parts of this place, and I found myself being with my mother and my brother. For some reason unknown to me, I had not seen our father with us.
On entering the stadium, all Jews listed as Category A will move to Section 1, Category B to Section 2, Category C to Section 3.
Give me back my daughter. Give it to me, I beg you. She's 5 years old. You must let me go
Give
to
her
her.
my son.
She
They
can work
made
with
us.
me. I'll
They're
teach
not
her.
look
Please let me
after
go
her.
to
They're
her.
only children.
Rachel, Rachel,
Give me my son! I'll go his place!
We were standing there for hours and hours on end, not knowing what is going to happen to us. Dusk came, evening came, we were still standing there. Eventually, maybe it was 4 o'clock in the morning, we heard from the distance trams arriving, and we were all herded into these trams, again with screaming, shouting, dogs. We're sitting in these trams. I was holding on to my mother and my brother, and finally we arrived very early in the morning in Łodz Ghetto, and again herded into a disused I lost the word. Prison, disused prison called Street Czarnieckiego, where we again herded into this place. Well, the crying there, it was non-stop. We knew we were in Łodz Ghetto, but of course mothers were without children, without husbands, without families, and we were all crying, not knowing what happened to the rest of our families. Eventually in the morning, the eldest of the Juden in Litzmannstadt Ghetto, his name was Chaim Rumkowski, came and talked to us and said, "You are the first town from the region to arrive in Łodz Ghetto, and I will try and do my best to make sure you get accommodations here, although we are all very cramped, and of course the most important, that you get ration cards, because without ration cards you just cannot live there." We absolutely felt bewildered, because the people in near us in the ghetto, who already were starving for 2 years or longer, they were just like walking skeletons, whereas we were still looking sort of normal. So the mother started to cry, "But Mr. Rumkowski, what happened? What about our children? What happened to our children?" He said, "Don't worry about your children. I know that my very good friend from Pabianice, whom I knew before the war, Motush Chmura, went with all the children as their supervisor, and I know that he will look after them."
I would like to volunteer to go with the children. My name is Motush Chmura, and I would like to accompany them to wherever it is that you are taking them. I speak excellent German, so if you need to talk to them, I can act as an intermediary. Thank you. Children, listen to me and try not to cry. Soon you will have to leave your parents, but I promise that you will see them again. My name is Motush. Your parents know me, and I promise that I will help you in every way that I can. But you must help me too. You must be brave. Now then, if you are standing next to a child that stands alone, or a child that is crying, hold their hand. That is good. Today we shall make new friends. You parents who have brought your children here today, you must remember that we are brave people. We must show them what courage is and what dignity means. Now then, children, when we march away, I want you to sing with me. It's time to leave. Sing with me. Sing!
Until recently, by watching a program about Auschwitz, have I found out the real truth, that my father left in wagons with the children, and as they were leaving, he was singing the Jewish national anthem, Hatikva. And then they were taken straight away to Chelmno Concentration Camp and actually gassed in the wagons, not even were able to leave the place. And that was in May 1942. And just to commemorate that, there is a white roast in Holocaust Center in Nottingham, which I have scribed and dedicated, and in his name.
Kolot baleva penima nefesh Yehudi homiya ulefateh mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia od lo avda tikvateinu hatikva bat shnot alpayim liyotam chofshi be'artzeinu Zion Yerushalayim Liyotam chofshi be'artzeinu Eretz Zion Yerushalayim.
We arrived at the Łodz Ghetto, Czarniecka Street, which was a disused prison, and I was sent to orphanage in Marysin, and my brother and my mother were given a room in the middle of the ghetto. My mother's job was to work in a big warehouse to sort out clothes that were left behind by the people who were already sent to Auschwitz. And it was a most terrible job because there were ladies sitting in this very big warehouse and sorting out dresses, clothes, different part of clothing, shoes, and everything was actually taken to Germany and made money into it.
Are you alright, Mother?
I don't feel myself today. It's so cold. Children, whatever happens, we must stay together.
Of course we will, Mother. Don't upset yourself.
I saw more people being deported yesterday. There was no warning. Trucks of SS soldiers just started entering the ghetto and pulling people up off the streets. They rounded them up and forced them into trucks. A young man ran away, but they just shot him.
I think you have a fever. Here, take my ration. I must go to work. I'll try and bring back some extra food and some bones to make a broth. You mustn't tell anyone at the factory that you're unwell, Mother. Understand?
Please eat, Heinrich. Eat, my son.
My brother was given a very nice, also prestigious job in an office as a liaison officer between the offices of the German and the Jews. And everything was called Bałucki Rynek, and everything that came to the ghetto came through this place. And he spoke very good German, and that was his job.
The family on the landing was deported yesterday. They were from Prague. I remember when she came to the ghetto, she was wearing the finest Fox fur coat. She couldn't accept the fact that she'd been brought to this place. They took her to work at the leather and saddle company on Minaska Street. It was no good. Her spirit was broken. Her husband was an accountant, just like Motush.
I've been given a new place to work, Mother.
But you had a good job at the soup factory.
How can you eat sweets when you eat nothing else? It made us so sick. During the day, I am to work with the children at the factory, and at night I'll take them back to the orphanage to feed them and put them to bed.
But that's a big responsibility. The children will be looking after only a few years younger than you.
It's something different, but it means I won't be staying here for a while.
There's no choice in the matter. We work where we are sent. Just promise me that you'll come and see us whenever you can. You've grown up so much, Helen. When I think of you and Miriam skating in the park, it breaks my heart. Now take this bread to Heinrich and tell him I'm well and not to worry. I must go to the office.
My brother was working in the middle of ghetto, which was like 3 or 4 miles away from where I used to live. And occasionally my mother used to ask me to go and take some lunch for him. And in this particular day, I went, started walking, And I went to his office, I delivered his lunch, and as I was leaving his office, suddenly the whole area was cordoned off. Enormous lorries arrived, and German soldiers with dogs, and started to take people at random and load them on these lorries. Well, people started to run, panicking, not knowing what to do, and I obviously ran with them. Suddenly I found myself in a yard of a very big building and screaming, shouting, "Ali, rouse," and loading these people. And I don't know what prompted me or what. I just started to run, and I ran sort of on the stairs, and I suddenly, like second floor, I found myself in a room which was empty, nobody was there, with a made-up bed. So obviously the German were already in that building and in that room, and they've already emptied this place from the people who lived there. Well, I ran, and I've decided to just run into this bed and covered myself and stayed in that bed. I can't explain why I did it, how I did it. It was something that I just did it, prompted me to do it. I was lying in this bed, and I could hear that they're still checking on the staircase whether any people are left, the German. And they are coming near me, near the bed, and I was in the bed. Well, I can't describe how scared I was. It's indescribable. After a while, the lorries drove off, and it became very quiet. Well, I was just lying in this bed for quite a few hours, probably. And suddenly, very timidly, I decided to see what is happening around me. I realize it is nighttime, very dark, and I thought, well, I better start going back home. Well, in the meantime, my brother realized that I am in very grave danger because I was in that area where this took place. So he decided to, he had a special sort of armband which showed that he's employed by the German and ghetto and so on. Decided to put this band on and go with find out where all these people are being taken, because they usually are taken to a point where the trains were and wagons, and then they were sent out from a certain point. So he went there, and again was screaming and shouting and shooting. He looked everywhere, he can't find me. He looked everywhere. Comes home, and he says to my mother, "You know what happened? Helen has been taken."
Helen's been taken, I'm sure of it, from my office. I saw him clearing Crofker Street. Why did you send us to look for me?
I thought you'd been hungry, so I asked us to take a ration for you. You hadn't eaten all day. If she's been deported, it's all my fault. God, it's all my fault.
No. You mustn't think like that. This could happen to any of us at any time. We must live with that. Rinkowski's fallen himself if the Germans won't eventually liquidate the entire ghetto. Once they made all they can out of us, it'll be over, just like Warsaw.
Don't speak like that!
But it's the truth! They're making millions out of the ghetto! Once they've starved us almost to death and we're almost too weak to work, Now kill what's left!
Shut up, just shut up, I just want Helen back!
I'm sorry, Mother, but it's true. We all know it is.
My darling girl, we thought they had you.
What happened?
I'd nearly reached your office hangar when the Gestapo came. They started to clear a block of flats. I hid in a room. It must have just been cleared because the bed was still warm. I waited and waited for hours. They didn't come back. I'm sorry I'm so late. I didn't know where to go.
My darling girl. It's alright, you're here now.
On the 4th of September 1942, at 4:45, Chairman Romkowski, eldest of the Jews, stood before a crowd of some 1,500 Jews in Fireman Square. It was an unbearable hot day. The crowd had been informed that Romkowski was to speak about new orders by the Gestapo. The speech would focus on deportation. Today, 60 years on, Romkowski's speech is regarded by many as the most tragic and terrifying of the 20th century.
A grievous blow has struck the ghetto, and they are asking us to give up the best we possess, the children and the elderly. I was unworthy of having a child of my own, and so I gave the best years of my life to children. I've lived and breathed with children. I never imagined I would be forced to deliver this sacrifice to the altar with my own hands. In my old age, I must stretch out my hands and beg, brothers and sisters, hand them over to me. Fathers and mothers, give me your children. Yesterday afternoon, they gave me the order to send more than 20,000 Jews out of the ghetto, and if not, they said, we will do it. So the question became, should we take this upon ourselves, do it ourselves, or leave it for others to do? And I and my closest associates thought first not about how many will perish, but how many is it possible to save? We have decided, however hard it would be for us, we should take the implementation of this order into our own hands. I must perform this difficult and bloody operation. I must cut off limbs in order to save the body itself. I must take children because if not, others may be taken as well. God forbid. I have no thought of consoling you today, nor do I wish to calm you. I must lay bare your full anguish and pain. I come to you like a bandit, to take from you what you most treasure in your hearts, and I have tried using every means possible to get the order revoked, and when that proved to be impossible, I tried to soften the order. On only one point did I succeed, in saving the 10-year-olds and up, and let this be a consolation in our profound grief. I must tell you in secret. They requested 24,000 victims, 3,000 a day for 8 days. And I succeeded in reducing the number to 20,000, but only on one condition, that these would be children under the age of 10. And so since the children and the aged total some 13,000 souls, the gap will have to be filled with the sick. I can barely speak. I am exhausted. Help me carry out this action. I am trembling. I'm afraid that others, God forbid, will do it themselves. A broken Jew stands before you. Do not envy me. This is the most difficult of all the orders I've had to carry out. Give into my hands the victims so that we can avoid having further victims, and a population of 100,000 Jews can be preserved. So they promised me. If we deliver the victims by ourselves, there will be peace.
Is it all right?
Maybe I should taste some.
No, you shouldn't.
I really think there's something wrong with this cake. I think something's missing. Candles. Yeah, that's it. Candles. I couldn't get any. Seems as if they don't make them anymore.
It's for Helen. Did you hear that? Quickly, go check. It might be Helen.
Turn! Look! Turn!
Happy birthday, my beautiful daughter.
Happy birthday, Helen.
Happy birthday.
A cake! How wonderful! You made me a cake!
We all helped. You will just have to imagine something wonderful from before the war. What kind of icing do you like?
I can't remember. How did you make it?
Potato peelings, chicory and some bread.
And a few other secret ingredients.
Come on, make a wish, then we can eat it.
Thank you, it's wonderful.
And I've got you a present. Don't ask me how I got it. I hope you like it.
As a child, I loved the story of Hansel and Gretel, and of course the very happy ending, and those two children who have this great adventure and see this wonderful house made of chocolate and cakes. And to my great amazement, in 1942, when together with my brother and my mother I was in Łodz Ghetto, I was given a present on my birthday in April, and I opened it, and what do I see? This wonderful silver compact of Hansel and Gretel with a lovely inscription by my brother in Polish saying: Kochanej Helence, w dniu urodzin od brata, Łódź Ghetto, 24/4/1944. And of course, I'm so pleased that this compact is still with me, and this is the most precious thing I have got. And in the orphanage, I was in charge of children, maybe 20, 30 children, who were not very much older than I was, or younger than I was, maybe a couple of years or so. And I had to escort them every morning, very early in the morning, to factories to work, and then come with them again to the orphanage late at night. These children, some of them were really of German origin. The sixth generation, they were German, but the German didn't recognize that, and they were thrown into the ghetto, and they really had very little to do with Judaism even, but there they were. And I tried very hard to give these children a lot of hope and care, and telling them that one day all this will be forgotten, the war will be over, and we all lead a happy and normal life again.
What will you do when the war's over, Helen?
I don't know. Perhaps I'll go home to Pavinici. I'll become a teacher and actress. I don't know. What do you wish for, Sarah?
I will find Mama and Papa. I will finish school and become a dancer. I love to dance. Helen, when will the war finish? I hate working in the factory. My hands are so sore.
What do you wish for, Jack, when the war is over?
I want to be a football player and play for Poland. I'm hungry, Helen.
There'll be something to eat tomorrow. Now sit down to sleep, children.
But we're hungry.
There'll be something to eat tomorrow, a special treat. I'll ask my brother if he can find us something.
Helen, tell us a story.
Tell us the story of Hansel and Gretel.
Alright, so sit down to sleep, close your eyes, sweet dreams. Once upon a time, in the land of dreams, there was a forest, and there lived a woodcutter and his two children,
W
Hansel
bocznym
and Gretel.
lesie mieszkał
And
drwal
one day the children were
z żoną
playing
i z
in
dwojgiem
the forest,
dzieci.
and there went people than the
Dzieci nazywały się Jaś i Małgosia. Cała rodzina after
była bardzo
supper,
szczęśliwa i zadowolona.
consisting of very little bread and some watery soup, I try to give these children hope and put their mind into something else, and I've decided to tell them this wonderful story of Hansel and Gretel. I've had to change some of the original story, in as much that the house that the children approached was not made of chocolate and cake, but actually made of bread, because that was the only thing we were dreaming about, to just be able to be able to cut a piece of bread and eat as much as we want. And the orphanage was until 1942, when the German again decided to send a lot of people out that were not constructive enough to work in the ghetto, and some of them were unfortunately the children, and the orphanage was closed down. During that time, I was also taken very ill and was in hospital with various problems due to malnutrition. But I knew about the children being sent out, and I know that I was told that as they were loaded on the wagons, they called my name, and that is very difficult for me to forget. In 1944, when I was in the camp in Łódź at Jakuba 15, I worked in the offices of the German employers that dealt with the ghetto, with the camp. And one of them was the Gauleiter, the person in charge of the camp, and his name was Hans Bibow. He was a notorious man. We all tried not to see this chap or be very near him, but we were very friendly with his driver, who used to tell us his action, where he's going, when he's coming, and many times he used to be drunk and arrive at the camp and of course shoot people or do whatever he could to harm them. And we, knowing that he's coming to the camp, we and my friends who worked in the offices, we were able to warn people not to go out and to stay indoor.
You shall come at 6 each morning and clean the office of Gauleiter Bibow. You are to complete your work before he arrives in his office. You are never to see him. He has no wish to have a Jew present while he is at work. Everything is to be immaculate. Do you understand, girl?
Yes, miss.
The work was quite hard because I had to work when these offices were not used and the people there were not there, which meant that I left the camp. I used to leave the camp like 5 a.m. in the morning, and I used to get back late at night. And during the day, we had a little room near those offices where me and my brother and other people that worked there used to sort of sit there and maybe have a drink and so forth. And I used to light the ovens in these offices and clean them and do everything, whatever I could, before the people that worked there came. And I used to come home on my own to the camp sometimes through these empty streets of the ghetto, which was, again, really, really scaring. And we didn't know, we knew one thing, that sooner or later, all this job is going to finish and we will be sent away the same way as all the others. It was only for a transitional period that we were used to be there. And never in my wildest dream did I believe that I will be there and see the end of the war and the German will be defeated. Never, never. One day, as I was cleaning Bibov's office, I emptied the waste paper basket and there was a letter addressed to me. I started reading it and I've realized that it's written by Bibov's secretary. Her name was Halina Schmidt, and she says, "I've left some food for you in my desk and I do want to help you and I will be doing that regularly for you and I'd like to meet you too at an appointed place."
Do not be afraid. We are not all like Bibov. I know it must be hard for you to believe after... How long have you been in the ghetto?
I'm not sure. I think 2 years. Maybe more.
My name is Helena. Helena Schmidt. What is your name?
Helen, miss.
We almost have the same name, you know.
And I appreciate so much how much danger she took for herself in order to do that.
I want to try and help you, Helen. You must understand this is dangerous for me to do, so it must be our secret.
Yes, I understand.
When I can, I will leave some food in the waste paper bin. Occasionally, I will leave some information to try and help you.
We became friends and exchanged letters the same way by putting things for her in waste paper baskets.
I'm very nervous, Helen. I have a new boyfriend. Can I trust you?
Yes.
And she also got a boyfriend who was our mutual friend, who was in the camp, who was Jewish, and after the war they married.
He's a young Jew. He's very brave and very foolish. Yesterday he escaped from the ghetto for one night so we could be together. He went to an officer's party. He looked such an Aryan. He was dressed in an German officer's uniform. No one questioned him. Today he's back in the ghetto, wearing his yellow star. We are very much in love. Can I trust you?
Of course, no one will know. Shush, someone's coming.
Look at the state of this cloakroom. You lazy Jew, wait till Herr Bibov hears about all this.
Sorry, Fraulein Schmidt.
Now get out!
German directive. It is obvious that the establishment of the ghetto is only a transitional measure. I reserve for myself the decision as to when and how the city of Łódź will be cleansed of the Jews. In any case, the final aim must be to burn out entirely this pestilent abscess. Signed, Ubelheuer.
near the end of our camp, I found in a basket a gun. Well, I really did not know how to handle this, but she says to me, I feel that you might want to need this, and I pray for you.
Dear Helen, the time is coming when you may need to use this. I'm so sorry. I'll pray for you. Helen Smith.
I'm glad to say that after the war I have been in touch with her, and I was able to be the chief witness in a court case, and because of my testimony and because what I told the court what she did for me, she has been rehabilitated. In September 1944, the Germans decided that the Łodz Ghetto has to be liquidated. Everybody had been sent out. At that time we had some idea that there is such a place like Auschwitz, but we really didn't know exactly what is happening there. All we knew that the people that were sent out, nobody came back. And they again did a segregation and decided to leave some people still behind. The people left behind consisted of 750 people, and because of my brother's work, which was still valuable to the German, he and his family were left too. We were all then taken to a disused factory where men and women were separated, and me and my mother, all we had was a bed in the place and a little table with a little Primus little machine that you could heat something up, and we were given some rations, and we all still had to perform work. Well, at first we had to first of all clean the ghetto after all these people that were sent out. It was a most terrible, terrible job. We used to go into houses where you could see that the family of this house were sitting up and had dinner because the plates were still there with some food in it, and they were just taken like that from there. Our function was to separate and segregate everything from this building and put in bundles outside the houses. For instance, knives, forks, spoons, plates, beddings, linen, whatever we could see in this house had to be separated, put it in bundles in the streets, where big lorries used to come and take it all away. The German made sure that everything could be made into money, could be sent to Germany, could be redone, could be made something of it. At that time, my brother had wirelesses, and we managed to more or less know a little bit what's going on outside our camp. And we realized that the Russians are fighting nearby, and they were going very, very quickly towards Poland. My cousin, who was with me in the camp, and her husband and her 2 children, approached me one night and she said, "Look, I just want to tell you that my husband has made a bunker, and tonight I want you to be ready, and you will be going to that bunker, which is actually situated opposite the German criminal police."
Helen, we've got to get out of here quick, all of you. The Germans are clearing the ghetto. They're killing off all the remaining Jews before they leave the city. They've dug 7 mass graves intended for us. I've dug a small bunker. I can hold about 20 in there. It's opposite the Gestapo headquarters. We've got to go now.
But it's freezing.
We've got to go now. Grab any warm clothes. Whatever happens, stay on the ground until I come for you. Quickly, there's no time for questions. Come on.
So, it was extremely cold because it was January and very cold winter. I think the temperature was like 10, 12 centigrade below. We gathered our few little belongings, which was just a little bit of food, an eiderdown, something like that, and off we went to that bunker. We were together with maybe 15 or so other people. And we had no idea what's going to happen. We just went and just stayed there, hugged in this eiderdown, and ate what we had, little bit of food there. And we knew that we can't last very long in these conditions. Occasionally in the night, we had no idea what day it is, what night, nothing. Occasionally my brother used to sort of look through the hole there, whether he see anything, whether he hear anything. It was quiet, quiet, quiet. We didn't see anything, we didn't hear anything. Eventually, one day, we heard a lot of stamping above us. And my mother suddenly said, "I think I can hear Russian spoken." Russian. So we said, "What?" We just didn't know what to say. And again, my brother, very, very sort of cautiously, opens our bunker. And I hear somebody calling my name, because it was my boyfriend, whom I told before we went to the bunker that if you are alive, I will be more or less in this area. And we opened the bunker, and I came face to face with a Russian soldier. And he said, "The war is finished and you are alive." Well, I cannot describe that. It's too difficult. to describe. And then, of course, the reality was not so rosy, because we realized that all our friends, people, family have perished. I was sort of standing in the street and looking, maybe somebody's alive, maybe somebody will come back. And it was a very, very difficult period altogether. We thought maybe our father is alive somewhere, somehow. And the adjustment was very, very difficult indeed. To restart a new life with no money, no clothes, no food, no nothing. And but we were alive. In 2004, I was invited to Beit Shalom Holocaust Center in Nottingham to light a candle to commemorate the 60th anniversary of Łodz Ghetto liquidation. It was a very moving affair, and afterwards we were introduced to a book which was launched at the same time by a publisher in London named of Chris Booth, and the book was called Łodz Ghetto Album, which the book has been founded by a few people due to photographs which were found in Łodz Ghetto, taken during the war by a photographer called Henryk Ross. He buried 3,000 photographs which were found, and several authors and photographers decided to put these things in a book and describe the life in the ghetto. We were shown a few pictures on the wall from the book, as the publisher wanted to know that maybe in the audience some people will recognize people from the photos. And I did actually recognize quite a few people that appear in the book who were my personal friends, and I knew them very well. Eventually, we came to the last picture, my daughter who sat next to me, which describes a group of people with a man playing an accordion. And I sort of shouted out, I know this man very well, because he was my first boyfriend, my first love in the ghetto. His name was Szlamek Wysocki. We were liberated together, and I believe he used to live in Israel after the war. Well, my daughter said to me, looked at the picture, and said, but Mommy, you are next to him. Well, that was quite a revelation to me. I was just smiling, crying. I didn't know how to behave. I just couldn't believe that after all this time, I will find my photograph in the book, taken when we were liberated in the Akuba camp in Łódź. And of course, all the people around me, one lady at the far end is the photographer's wife, actually, and the person who plays the accordion I have met. He's still alive. I have met him last year in Israel, and of course gave him the book and the photo, and we reminiscence how it used to be.